Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Caden Kubler and welcome to Caden's Corner. It seems like last year in the NFL, a very pushed narrative was that Brock Purdy wasn't an elite quarterback, and I completely disagree with it. And to be quite honest, I'm sick of the Brock Purdy disrespect. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and he's proven so much in only 2 years in the league. Last season, Brock Purdy was so heavily criticized despite throwing for more than 4,000 passing yards, despite throwing for more than 30 touchdowns and leading the 49ers all the way to the Super Bowl, where they eventually met their match and lost to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Looking at Brock Purdy's performance in the Super Bowl, I personally thought he played an excellent game. He threw for 255 passing yards, completed 60% of his passes, had 1 touchdown and no picks. Now with this loss, so many people are wondering if Brock Purdy is still the guy that can get the 49ers over the hump. San Francisco over the last few years has had one of the best rosters offensively and defensively. They have an elite play caller, but they've never been able to win the big game. And the pressure's really on for San Francisco. We're seeing some of their younger guys that were superstars now looking for big-time contracts like Brandon Ayuk. We see Trent Williams holding out for a bigger contract extension. Nick Bosa did it the year before, and so did Deebo Samuel. They still have Christian McCaffrey that they just paid. They also paid George Kittle, and they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy next season. But despite all that, I'm not panicking on the 49ers, and I'm especially not panicking on Mr. Brock Purdy. Coming into this season, I have Brock Purdy as a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Now, we saw throughout much of last season, Brock Purdy was heavily in the MVP conversation. This year, he has the 7th best odds to win the award, and if the San Francisco 49ers are winning ball games while he's performing, he's going to be up there to win it. When you look at Brock Purdy's career throughout the NFL, it's truly incredible. We all know the story how he was the last pick in the draft. He got no QB1 reps with the 49ers. Trey Lance, their former number 3 overall pick, went down. Then Jimmy Garoppolo went down, and it was time for the 3rd string quarterback that nobody had heard of, Mr. Irrelevant out of Iowa State, to step in and save the 49ers. Midway through the year, with no offseason reps, no way to build chemistry with guys like Deebo Samuel, Ayuk, Kittle, and so on, he came in and led this team all the way to the conference championship, where he eventually tore his UCL. And coming into last year, he again didn't have a full offseason to train and to develop with his guys, and he went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl in only year 2 of his career. And right now, Brock Purdy, making less than $1 million per year, is heading into year 3 of his career and is absolutely cooking. And there's been a lot of criticism for Purdy throughout last season. How he's not the biggest guy, how he doesn't have the strongest arm, how he doesn't wow you physically, that he's very fortunate to have so many playmakers, to have a great offensive play caller, to have a great defense. But at the end of the day, Purdy ignores all the noise and shows up in a straight business. I understand that he has all the elite weapons, but at the end of the day, Brock Purdy makes this 49ers offense a well-oiled machine. Another very confusing thing to me is that people in the media will criticize Brock Purdy for losing to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, but they won't criticize Josh Allen for losing to Patrick Mahomes 3 times. What? Because he's 6'5" and has a monster arm? Or they'll criticize Brock Purdy for having elite weapons, but what about when Josh Allen was struggling at the beginning of his career and then got Stephon Diggs and we saw him take off? Or what about Patrick Mahomes when he succeeded his 2nd year? He had the best wide receiver in the NFL in Tyreek Hill, and he had the best tight end in the NFL in Travis Kelce. But you didn't hear anything about his weapons. Same thing with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow right now is a top 5 receiver in the NFL in Jamar Chase, and a top 15 receiver in the NFL in T. Higgins. You hear nothing about his weapons. Tua probably has the best receiving core in the NFL. He has an elite play caller, and he's making more than $50 million per year. Yet you take all of these other quarterbacks, and Brock Purdy somehow receives more slander for his elite weapons than them. And by the way, I'm not taking a shot at any of those quarterbacks. I still believe that Josh Allen was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, regardless of Stephon Diggs. I think it's more of inconsistency from fans and people in the media. Brock Purdy's only going into year 3, and he's done nothing but win and grind. Now, I have a quick basketball analogy for you guys, and it starts with Bryce Young. So when Bryce Young was coming out of college and he was going into the NFL, everybody was comparing him to Steph Curry and how he was kind of like a point guard at the quarterback position. How he was undersized like Steph Curry was, but he could stay alive in the pocket, could make plays with his legs, was very accurate, and had great anticipation. I think Brock Purdy is this point guard that is so great at distributing the ball to all of his playmakers. He has elite pocket presence for his size. No matter if big number 95 Chris Jones is bearing down on him, he'll still figure out a way to get rid of the ball. Purdy has some of the best anticipation in the league, in my opinion. You see all these deep digs from Kyle Shanahan in this offense to Deebo and Ayuk. Purdy's always got these out on time. And one of his best traits, in my opinion, is his accuracy. Purdy is so accurate. He's always got the ball out on time, and you know it's always going to be right on the money. And I think with this undersized distributor analogy, I'm going to give it to the Bay brothers with Stephen Curry and Brock Purdy. But since I'm sticking to my basketball analogies here, I think that the 49ers are actually the Boston Celtics of the NFL. Both of these teams for the last few years have had all of the talent in the world. Everybody knows that they're contenders every single season. Up until this year, the Boston Celtics would always get to the big game and then lose, and it's similar to the San Francisco 49ers. And last year, nobody cared what the Celtics did in the regular season. Only the playoffs mattered. And I think that's where we're at with the San Francisco 49ers right now. Everybody knows they have the talent. Everybody knows that they can get to the Super Bowl, and everybody knows that they're going to breeze through their schedule. What really matters is the postseason for this team. And with all that being said, I'm not worried about this San Francisco team at all, just like I wasn't worried about the Boston Celtics, and they finally won the title. I will say the 49ers need to get Brandon Ayuk back. They need that true route runner on the outside. Not that Deebo Samuel can't do it, but they need that true number one X receiver for Brock Purdy. And they have to bring Trent Williams back, the absolute mammoth on the left side protecting Brock Purdy. This offensive line is not that great, and it seems like Trent Williams is able to kind of make everything disappear. In my opinion, they absolutely have to bring both of those guys back for the team's success. But let's deep dive into their schedule here. I think it might be one of the toughest in the league. For some of their tougher games at home, they'll see New York week 1, they'll see Kansas City week 7, they'll see Detroit week 18. Chicago, I think they're an emerging team. That'll also be a tough game. They'll also see Dallas at home. For some of their tougher road games, they're going to play Miami on the road, they're going to play Buffalo on the road, Green Bay away. And in terms of their division, it's no cakewalk. I think the Rams are going to be one of the best offensive teams in the league, and they might split with them this year. And I think the Seahawks this year, no pun intended, are a wild card in the NFC. I'm in love with this offense. I love Geno Smith. I love the weapons that they have on the outside. I think Kenneth Walker is one of the best running backs in the NFL, and he's due for a big-time season. And I think if this defense can play a little bit better, I think the Seahawks can be a really interesting team this year. So nothing's guaranteed for the 49ers this season, but ultimately I think they make it to the playoffs. I think they win 11 to 12 games. And when they lose, because they have a tough schedule this year, it's going to get noisy for them. It's going to get noisy for Shanahan. It's going to get noisy for Purdy. It's going to get noisy for this entire roster. It happened last year when they went on their 3-game losing streak, and it's inevitably going to happen this year. But at the end of the day, the San Francisco 49ers will be fine throughout the regular season. What really matters, in my opinion, is the playoffs for this team. But if you're questioning right now if Brock Purdy is the right guy for this team, let me tell you plain and simple, he absolutely is. Brock Purdy right now is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, and I believe the San Francisco 49ers will make it back to the Super Bowl. I'm Caden Kubler, and that's my take.